There's just like so many different ways to flirt. It's like 200 something plus ways of
Oh my
flirting.
gosh.
It's a ridiculous number. So, but using that to your advantage, or again, just like no pressure. Like not everybody is an extrovert. Not everybody could talk to a stranger, and so it's sometimes like taking the pressure off, or sometimes I might have to work with a client. Like, how can you practice talking to strangers in completely, non-romantic situations, like strike up a conversation with your Starbucks barista.
Are you going through life blind? This is Eyes Wide Open with Nick Thompson. On this podcast, we share knowledge and stories that build human connection while elevating stigmatized societal issues such as mental health, holistic wellness, culture, free speech, and more. All to ensure we show up in the world with our eyes wide open. Hello, welcome to this week's episode of Eyes Wide Open. If you tuned in last week, you know that I decided to break this episode up into two parts because of the length. So if you haven't listened to part one, please go to last week's episode with Anita Chlipala, where we start our conversation about dating, relationships, and couples counseling. And be sure to check out our event that she is hosting for singles down in the show notes at that link. That's coming up this Friday on November the 8th here in Chicago. So we will see you there. In the meantime, enjoy episode 2. I think, too, with attachment, like it's a little bit of a wake-up call, just like any kind of assessment or anything that you do. It's a little bit of like a wake-up call, and it takes a little bit of a humble personality to kind of accept it. And if you would have, like, for example, several years ago, if you would have described the attachment styles to me, I would have labeled myself secure. Guess what? Newsflash, not so much. I think I am now. Maybe I could be now, but like I think there's like a little bit of let it humble you and recognize that there's work you could be doing to move yourself into a better position so you can show up better in relationships.
Yeah, and I love that research shows that they're fluid. And it's not this like, these super neat categories like, well, if you're avoidant or secure, anxious, because I also look at tendencies. It's like some people could be one category but have a tendency for something else. But even, the one who ghosted you, I mean, that's total avoidant behavior.
Oh, yeah.
It's like, can't deal with intimacy, so I'm just going to bolt.
Right. But I think those are the kinds of things that people just, they don't do the work to figure out how to behave in that kind of situation or how they even want. I don't even think, I hate to pick on this person, but I don't even think this person meant for that. Like, I don't think that was the intention.
Right.
I think that was the reaction.
Yeah. I mean, that's one of the reasons why I work with my clients, and regardless of whether they're single, individual, or a couple, on increasing their discomfort or increasing their comfort to discomfort. I think that's really important, because then even I don't think people really do well with uncertainty. And dating is all about uncertainty. Is this going to work out? Am I going to hear from them? Like, do they like me as much as I like them? And if you could tolerate that stuff, like, you're much more likely to be giving people a chance versus, I don't like this uncertainty. I don't like the way this is making me feel. They're probably going to break up with me anyway, so I'm just going to end it.
That is such a self-fulfilling prophecy, too.
It is, yeah. But if people can notice that, or like, well, I don't want to get hurt, so I'm just going to end it. It's like, well, remind yourself that you've been resilient. Like, being hurt, like even happily married people will hurt each other. And it's not necessarily on purpose, but it's going to happen. And that's where, like, even research will show, like, the repair is important there. But you get to see how does a person respond when they like hurt your feelings, but you have to share that. Like, don't play it cool. Like, oh, it didn't bother you. This is the stuff that you want to assess, because if you're choosing to find someone, if you're looking to find someone who's going to be a good fit, not someone who's going to be kind to you, and not be dismissive or gaslight you if you bring up something that's, that bothered you.
Yeah. I think gaslighting too it's like obviously a bad thing to do to someone. I sometimes don't even know if people know they're doing it. Like, I think sometimes people are kind of in their own perception of reality of what's going on, and they're doing it, and they may not even realize that they're doing it, or they're like doing it from a bad place. I think I don't know what you think about that, but sometimes I feel like, and again, gaslighting, not okay, not saying that, but like, I try to look at people, and this isn't just in relationships, but like at work with friends and family, I try to look at people and look at their intentions and see if there's like something there that you can like kind of, okay, this person's not trying to hurt me. This person isn't,
Mm-hmm.
and kind of humanize them a little
Mm-hmm.
bit and sort of, again, not give a pass, but hopefully like not escalate it and maybe
Yeah.
come out better.
I mean, yeah, I mean, I think it would be like case by case basis. And is it like continued behavior? What
Of
exactly
course.
are they saying? Because I think that matters. But like, for example, if someone is like hurt or crying and it, like someone, inadvertently might invalidate them or minimize their feelings by
Exactly.
saying, you shouldn't cry. It's like, well, that's not really not helpful. But is it coming from a bad place? No, they just may not be able to tolerate their discomfort around someone crying or
Exactly.
someone's tears. And so that person would actually have to be doing the work to be like, okay, how can I still show up empathically,
Right.
for my partner, for this person, even though this makes me uncomfortable?
You said that, and that's exactly what I meant. So
Yeah.
thank you for clearing up my thoughts into something that was a little more coherent. But
That totally made sense.
I know we only scheduled a few more minutes. Do you have more time to keep
Yeah,
going,
I
or do
do.
you have?
Yeah,
Okay, okay.
I
I just
do.
don't want to. I want to be respectful of your time. But no, I agree with that, and I think that people when you're in that situation and you've hurt someone, especially someone that is your partner, you care about, your husband, your wife, whatever, and even if you didn't mean to hurt them and you've hurt them, it does kind of like ignite something in you where you want to be defensive because that wasn't
Hmm.
your intention. And so then you come out and you say that, well, this isn't, something you should be crying about, or I didn't mean to do that. And it's like, that's fair, but you did. So now like listen to what you did and try and
Hmm.
be, respectful of how someone feels, whether you agree with it or not. It is how they feel, and it should be validated and something that you guys look at together. And I always think about this with conflict in a relationship. Sometimes I feel like I'm the only person that looks at it this way, but I think of a conflict not as like me versus you, winning and losing, right and wrong, but as like, let's separate ourselves from it. Let's look at it
Hmm.
together and then understand, how did this happen? What can we do to resolve this? And then how can we like have almost like a framework in place of how we address conflicts like this or even different than this going forward? And I think a lot of people, and I don't know if that's the right way to do it, but I want to attack things together and not attack each
Yeah,
other, and that's my
right,
intention with that. But I think it's hard to do that in the moment. Me too. When emotions are high, and it's
right.
yeah, it's a tough thing to just figure out how to navigate, especially I think early on or once you've built those bad habits.
Yeah, but I think what you said is key, like when emotions are high, right? So, one thing that we do with our couples, especially, is emotional management work because you can't access all of the communication tools that are important or the skills when you're in fight or flight mode or if your
Mm,
emotions are so high. So like I work with my clients around, hey, let's, you need to learn how to avoid fight or flight. Like I'm okay with anger. Like, I mean, some people yell, it's fine, but it's just when you hit that point of no return that's where the danger zone kind of happens and what couples really want to avoid. So,
mm.
but calming down, then you're much less likely to be defensive. And the other thing, I mean, there's so many like variables at play here, but sometimes people think that like understanding equals agreement. And so that's why they dig in their heels
Ah,
because they think,
yes.
well, if I'm going to understand you, then that means I'm going to agree. And then they're scared that maybe their non negotiable is not going to get honored or they're going to have to give something up. And so I have to do some education around understanding is not agreeing, but you need to empathize. You need to understand your partner's perspective in order to make any kind of groundwork or any kind of compromise happen. There's like no other way it's going to happen. So,
That's awesome. No, gosh, that's really a good way to put it. I totally agree with that. Do you think, and then we can spin this to be a little more positive, maybe. What do you think are, what do you think are the most, I'll put it in two questions, like the most self-sabotaging thing you see your daters do? And then what is, well, let's start with that. Like, so if we swing into dating, like what's the
mhm,
self-sabotage? I know as an example, I know I like I said, I self-sabotage because I don't put myself in those situations. I don't want to be
Yeah.
single. I think I have a lot to bring to a relationship. And it's hard because, you got to overcome the fear. You've got to overcome the endless opportunities. If you're going to be on an app,
Yeah.
you've got to overcome the fear to talk to someone in person, whether it's at the grocery store, or at a bar, or at an event, or whatever that is. But like, where do you see from your experience with your clients over the years, what are the really top self-sabotaging efforts people do?
Yeah. I mean, I would say kind of like the chasing the feeling to some degree, because it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy for some of my clients where like they know the person isn't a good fit on some level, but they're chasing that feeling. And so when it doesn't work out, it kind of is like,
Mm,
well, I kind of figured this, wouldn't. But part of it too is, those kind of like the unavailable people kind of give you that excitement. So like kind of really looking, they know who they shouldn't be going for, but they are still kind of drawn to those.
yeah.
And then like the being super dismissive, like that one is a big one that frustrates me. Is like I really have to beg my clients to give people a chance.
Yeah. And do you think that's stemming from like the fear of getting hurt, or past trauma or experiences, or?
Yeah, and I think for sure, and I think also if you meet someone who, let's say if you have a non-secure attachment style and you meet someone who is securely attached, they're probably not going to create that spark that you're looking for because they're too stable. Like part of the high of, let's say, like if you're a non-secure attachment is the maybe like inconsistency of someone texting you or reaching out, but a securely attached person is going to consistently reach out or like let you know, kind of like what you said. They're gonna, someone's gonna tell you like, hey, I'm interested, or if someone is interested in you, you're gonna know. There really shouldn't be any guesswork around that, at least like for someone to be, there shouldn't be any guesswork that someone is interested in getting to know you better. I'm not saying you're going to know that the relationship is like a relationship is actually going to manifest or anything like that. I'm not saying that, but there really should be no guesswork that someone is interested in wanting to get to know you better. And that's
I
not the way we
100%.
date. But that's not the way we
No, I
date.
100% agree with you. So we'll spin it positive. So I agree with that. I think it's dating with intention. It's dating with, you know, leading with being vulnerable, right? Being open to it, putting yourself in situations where you can maybe attract the kind of person that you want. I think all of that is great. But what I wanted to get your take on is, what are some, obviously I just said some of them probably, but what are some of the ways that you would recommend to your clients, to your, or advice you'd give yourself on getting out there like more intentionally? Obviously, you said getting on the apps, doing things in person. What are some of those ways you think people can be more intentional and have more success dating?
Yeah, I mean, do whatever hobby you want. I mean, like pickleball's been all the rage for a few years now, or join a running club, or uh, you know, join a gym. But the one thing, like no matter what you pick, whether you even go to some networking events or join a meetup group or something like that, is you have to initiate conversation. Don't wait for the other person to do it, or for whatever person you're interested in, because like with my female clients, they like their belief, like overarching belief is, well, if a guy thought I was hot, he would come over. Like if he saw me across the room and he thought I was attractive, like he would come over. I'm like, no, he's not. I'm like, he's
No.
too scared,
I can tell you
like,
he's too scared.
yeah. I go, but women expect that, and I'm like, you have to give some kind of a signal. Like some of my male clients even would be like, I need a neon sign over their head being like, come talk to me, come talk to me. And
Because
so it
it's
is
so
like,
easy to like feel the rejection. And now too, like I think maybe it was COVID, maybe it was before that, but like I feel like I don't know the difference between creeping on someone and intentionally trying to get a conversation started.
yeah, and I mean, I'm glad you brought that up because I think people to put too much pressure also in like in real life events or just like meeting someone in real life where any kind of conversation means that the person wants to get my number. It's like they're just having a conversation. Like you have to start somewhere. So take the pressure off. And I mean, worst case, if someone talks to you and you're not attracted to them, or something came up that you don't just don't want to go on a date with them, you could just say like, oh, I have a boyfriend, or I have a girlfriend, or I have a partner, whatever. It's like, you could
Be
just like,
kind.
let them down. Yeah. Be kind, and sometimes even like, I like using humor. I mean, I was out with a friend a few weeks ago, and I don't know, I mean, I'm older than you, but like I've been known to be the oldest person at the bar sometimes. And so,
I feel like I am. So
and so we were in Old Town, and I'm like, oh my God, we're literally in a bar with like 20
you,
somethings.
I was going to
And
say
then,
you went to Old Town. You went, I call that's the demo. Like I
yeah.
don't go there because they've all seen Love is Blind, and
Oh
it's just going
yeah,
to be
I could understand.
20,
But
25 to 27-year-olds.
yeah, I mean, but I was just, my friend and I were walking around, and I just decided to go to a guy, and I'm just like, how old are you? I literally just asked him how old he was. And he's like, I'm
How old was
40.
he?
He was
Oh,
40.
okay.
And then I got to know his friend group, and I'm like, okay, I'm not the oldest. I'm the second oldest here, because one of his buddies was like older than me. But he actually made a comment to me. He's like, I can't believe you came up to me. He's like, that was so cool. Like nobody ever comes up to me. And I did it in such a funny way, because I was just like, I'm just checking to see if I'm the oldest person here, But that's the thing is, I think,
But it's an
at least,
icebreaker too.
yeah, but like in heterosexual relationships, I think women do still expect the man to pursue, but what women kind of sometimes maybe don't think about is, one, the rejection rate that men have to experience by being put in that role. And I would say it's not that men don't have confidence, but that fear of like, where's the line between being a creeper, or,
Hmm.
some of my clients would even say like, well, how do I know, her 6'5" boyfriend isn't going to be coming from the bathroom or showing up later, and he's going to kick my ass, because I'm hitting on his girl. So, that kind of stuff is like making sure that you're putting in the effort as well. And like even something as
Hmm.
simple as eye contact. Like, I mean, I've
Which, by
tested
the
that out.
way, I test that out too. And
It works.
I wonder, we'll have to talk about this, but I wonder if we go to the same bars at all in the neighborhood. I'm sure we do. But
Yeah.
I feel like even when I try to do the eye contact thing, sometimes it's like impossible to read, because it's like quick eye contact, look away, look down at phone, whatever. And I'm like, is that a look away because they're shy? Is that a look away? Like you have no clue. I just feel
Right.
like you have no clue because people don't give the signs.
Right. But I think it has to be repeated. So like when eye contact works for me, it would be like I would look at the guy several times throughout the night, and
Yeah.
then, he might come up. But I mean, I tested it out. I mean, I think
Mm.
don't quote me on this because I can't remember, but there's just like so many different ways to flirt. It's like 200 something plus ways of
Oh my
flirting.
gosh.
It's a ridiculous number. So, but using that to your advantage, or again, just like no pressure. Like not everybody is an extrovert. Not everybody could talk to a stranger, and so it's sometimes like taking the pressure off, or sometimes I might have to work with a client. Like, how can you practice talking to strangers in completely, non-romantic situations, like strike up a conversation with your Starbucks barista, or just talk to, I mean, we kind of were joking about the post office earlier, but like strike up a conversation at the post office, be able to just,
Everyone's equally frustrated about something if they're at the post office.
yeah,
So you
yeah,
gotta
just,
base.
yeah. Or like where, and this was probably like also maybe a little bit in the pandemic, but like I would tell clients like where, if appropriate, but like where, maybe like a t-shirt of your favorite band, or like a school that you went to. Like my brother-in-law got me this Cubs shirt or Cubs hat that has the ASU like logo
Oh,
on the
nice.
side.
Yeah.
I get People are like, "Are you a Sun Devil?" all the time, because like, so I'm like, "Yeah, well, how did you know?" And it's just something like a conversation starter, or like pay attention, right? Like, how can
Hmm.
you, um, like, you're at a bar and someone orders a drink, and it's like, "Oh, what's in that drink?" Or like, "Hey, is anyone sitting here?" "Oh, do you come here?" And not the "do you come here often?" Kind of cheesy line, but
Well, in this
like,
neighborhood, we know where people go often. So it's like, I've
yeah.
seen you here before on a Thursday.
Yeah. I mean, but also it's like you can, you could kind of tell, I mean, you'll be able to tell is like someone open to conversation or not, but take the pressure off, just have a conversation, and then if appropriate, then, if you're both single, whatever, it seems like interest, then you can kind of ask for a date or say, hey, I'd like to get to know you better or whatever.
Yeah. Do you think like people should ask for the phone number or a date, or obviously you got to get the phone number if you're going to get a date, but do you think that's like something that you should do after striking up a conversation? Because my interpretation is that that's a little different now, because another thing I think happened with apps is I think people expect like more back and forth before a date happens. So if like you meet someone in a bar or at the grocery store or whatever, like should you meet them a second time before you do it, or what's your take, or do you just be bold and go for it?
I think you should just be bold and go for it. I mean, no risk, no reward, Nick.
I fucked up at the dog park last weekend then.
Well, but here's the thing is, so, I mean, again, these are like situations, it could be dependent, but if you go to the dog park and you've seen this person before and you just this time maybe happen to strike up a conversation and the chances are you're probably going to see her again, then it's okay, right? But if you're like at a bar with friends in a different neighborhood outside of ours, like the one time a year that you go, maybe to Logan or something, then like you got to shoot your shot.
Yeah.
And you could just say like, hey, I still want to be respectful, but like I really enjoyed our conversation and getting to know you. Like, can I get your number? Like
I
it
love
doesn't have
that.
to be,
I want to be
difficult.
respectful. I want to be respectful. I like that. That's good. I want to be respectful,
So,
but can I get your number?
because the other thing is, I do think because of the dating app burnout, people do want to meet in person. But to your point, it's like, it's kind of like the tug of war. Who's going to make the first move? Women are waiting for the men, but the men are scared of rejection or how they're going to come across. And even some guys have told me, it's like, Anita, if she's in a group with women, not only do I have to win her over, but I got to win over all of her friends, and like the
Which, by the
pressure
way,
that
if you
they
can do
feel.
that though, if you can do that though, like that's the ultimate in. Like if you
Yeah.
can win the group over in that setting and just be yourself and be funny and be I think also be intentional about who you like, because otherwise you find yourself in
Oh,
a
right.
mess. But
Right.
yeah, I think that's a good way to kind of like win people over.
Yeah, it can be, but again, the probability of that happening, I don't know how
Yeah.
high that is with,
Not very high.
I don't think so. I mean, with the fear. And again, I mean, because like I work with men too, and I'll ask them, like, how do you feel about approaching someone at the bar? And most of the time, like, there is a fear
No.
there. And it's not just rejection, but it's, they are worried about a woman feeling safe with them approaching. And I'm just like, we lost, and I don't know if it is the
No, that's
dating
so
apps, but
true.
we just
That's
lost
100%
that.
true.
Yeah, we lost the ability to connect on just a human to human level where we can't even have a conversation without someone being like, this is horrible. Like, why is this person talking to us? It's like,
Right.
because we're human and we want connection, and it's okay to have a conversation at a bar. Like, it doesn't mean anything is going to happen. Like, stop overanalyzing.
Yeah. Yeah, and not everyone has like some sort of creepy intention. There's
Right,
creeps out
exactly.
there. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying there's not, but like it is a little bit unfair to anyone who's starting up a conversation to have this fear that they're going to be a creep just because of the way that I don't even know how we got here. Because I'm 39.
Hmm.
I'm I remember a time, now I sound like an old man, but like I remember a time when it was I was much more comfortable going up and talking to someone at a bar, where
Yeah,
now you think about all of that stuff or complimenting someone. Like
right.
I don't feel comfortable doing that anymore. I
But
don't feel comfortable
are you able to
touching.
identify? Right. But are you able to identify why? Because like a compliment would be one, either a conversation, like an opener, or you would let, someone know if you're complimenting a woman, like, hey, I find you to have be somewhat attractive or, interesting if you're
Yeah.
complimenting her because you want to get a conversation going. So did you notice like when that shift happened for you?
Good question. I would say it was probably like around, maybe around COVID.
Mm-hmm.
Around, I don't think it was COVID induced, but like I remember, like I was dating someone for a while, right before COVID, and it was after that that I was like, oh, you can't kind of compliment, and I don't know why, but like I felt like you just see people take it. I mean, maybe it's like cancel culture, but it's like if you say someone's attractive or they have, and then people are like, oh, well, is she not attractive if it's like, is that all she is? It just like me again, it's probably a little bit me, but that's just kind of my take where it's like, I don't really know how to give a compliment anymore without coming across creepy or
Mm-hmm.
surface level.
Mm-hmm.
And same with like, you know, you you see, oh, you got to show someone you like them on the date, like touch their arm, guide them out the door. It's like, yeah, unless they don't want to be touched. And then
Right.
you know what I mean? It's like, I know this sounds crazy, and a lot of this is probably me and having my own anxieties about it, but like I think about that stuff
Mm-hmm.
because people do get like canceled isn't the right word, but like labeled a creep or labeled creepy or whatever, sometimes for far less offenses.
Yeah. I mean, like I'm a words of affirmation person, but like I compliment strangers all the time. I mean, it's mostly on like, hey, I like your dress, or I like your glasses, or cool hat, or I love that band, right? And I most of the time, I mean, I don't think I've ever had anyone like respond poorly, but uh, everyone is like appreciative. Oh, thank you. And I think we can maybe get some of that back into our culture. I mean, we
Mm.
talked about like our ownership or
So I'll do that in a
accountability.
non-dating setting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But even, but the other thing is, like, let's say even in a dating setting, if you were worried that you were going to be coming across as only focusing maybe on looks or something like that, but you have so much opportunity in the date or during the date at some point to be like, I'm really enjoying our conversation, or like, I really love the way you think, or, I love that
Hmm.
you're smart, whatever. Like, you could compliment a characteristic. Like, I really admire your generosity with your friends, or that blah, blah,
Right.
blah. Like, that story really resonated with me. So, I mean,
That's great
here's the other
feedback.
thing is I spend a lot of time getting ready that when a guy doesn't compliment how I look, it was just like, what the hell?
Oh,
You know?
yeah.
It's like, dude, just like, can you at least tell me I'm cute or something?
Yeah.
So, but that's the thing is that's the flip side, right? Like, you maybe are worried about how your compliment is going to come across, where, the flip side of that is if a woman doesn't get it, she might be wondering, like, is he even attracted to me? Does he find
Totally.
me,
It's
does
like
he
a
find me
double-edged
hot?
sword. It's just
Right,
they kind of like are hurting
right,
each other. You're hurting yourself and the other person and the potential.
right. But that's the thing is, and I'm working with a client who she's got some touch issues. So to your point,
Mm.
you want to be respectful. And so feedback that she's gotten, like, several dates in, guys like, I don't even think that you're interested, and so I think if you like somebody, like if you're on a date and you like somebody, how are you going to convey in various ways that you're interested? Because it doesn't just have to be complimenting looks. It doesn't just have to be, through touch. And you could do a little, pat, or like the arm, keep it kind of, soft, or just,
Hmm.
not too crazy, and then see if they respond. Like, do they then, touch you back? Or you could say something like, I really enjoyed, or I'm really enjoying this conversation. Like, if there's a break in the date
Yeah.
or something, or whatever, like, I'm really having a lot of fun. So at least you're letting them know how you're feeling on the date. You're giving them feedback, and then they could decide, what to do with it.
That's a great, that's great advice. Um, and I think it's going to be helpful to, one thing I've started doing a while ago with all of this stuff myself is I'll ask, hey, can I hold your hand? Hey,
Hmm.
can I kiss you? Like whatever that situation is, like I'll do that. But it also feels like a little weird sometimes to even ask that. But I do think like your point of kind of building the, um, sharing your feelings and kind of building almost like the foundation of, hey, I'm having a really good time, this is great, or I enjoy talking to you, or whatever that is, as you go, it kind of does take a little bit of maybe the edge off of being oh, I'm going to make this move, or I'm going to
Right.
guide out the door by touching the back or whatever it is.
Yeah. And here's the thing is I do feel bad for you guys sometimes because sometimes you guys just can't win with women.
That's
You know,
100% true
it's
too.
like, I mean, it's like, do you, if you ask, like, does that make you a wuss? But then, like, if you're,
Yes. That's,
confident and you just go for it, like, I mean, again,
are you
I just,
pervy?
yeah,
I had someone,
yeah,
I think this might be the one that got me. Now thinking about it. She described a guy as being pervy because he tried to kiss her at the end of a date.
I know that's what I'm
So it's
talking
like,
about. Like, how
yeah,
are you
so it
supposed to
is.
win?
How do you win?
Yeah. And that's
You
the
just,
thing is, again, I think for both people, like when you're on a date, is how can you convey interest to maybe make some of that stuff a little bit more natural, right?
yeah.
Like
You're
if
kind of
you
like
hope,
building rapport as you go, which I think is
yeah,
great. Like that's great advice.
yeah, or let's say you didn't, maybe like you didn't kiss her, but she was open to a second date. If it's appropriate, like, I really wanted to kiss you or something, and then just see how she responds. I mean, again, there's just like other options, right? It doesn't have to be,
Mhm.
but I do feel bad for you guys. And that's something that I do talk to my female clients about is it is not easy. Also, like, not that it's easy being a woman and dating, but it's also not easy being a guy, but like I just try to get women to see like, other things instead of being maybe like, well, if a guy liked me, then he would do XYZ. I'm like, that's not the way it works.
That's not true. I
Mm-mm.
guarantee you, most people, there's someone that is maybe not forever, but like regrets not having the courage and is disappointed in themselves for not having the courage to go up and say something to someone that they found attractive or cute or funny at the bar or whatever that is. I guarantee you, it's happened to
Oh
everyone.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's why I said like shoot your shot. I mean, if it's okay, so, if you're going to be frequently going to the same dog park and you've seen her before, then it's not that big of a deal. But
Well,
if you
here's
don't
the
know,
issue. I had never seen her before, and
mm,
we talked for 30 minutes, and I didn't ask for her number because I thought it was creepy because we were just at the dog park. And then I haven't seen her since. That's the problem.
see,
But I
like
know she lives in the neighborhood.
yeah, so you may see her. I mean, I tell my client like the dog park. It's like I tell them you have a dog, go to the dog park, like talk to people, go meet somebody, right?
Hmm.
Like, but that's the thing is like that's another opportunity to meet somebody in real life. And,
Totally.
maybe you could joke like, hey, I don't want to ruin this dog park for you, but I'm having fun talking to you. Would you like to, continue the conversation over coffee? You
Exactly.
know?
I'm going to do that next time. I'm going to do that
Yeah.
next time. But let's talk about this event for a few minutes
Yeah.
here. Yeah, Backstory Tavern on November the 8th.
Yes.
It's here in Chicago. It's within the triangle I am comfortable moving within. So, which
Yeah.
is
So
Wicker
happy.
Park. Yeah. So, first of all, I think it's a funny story. So, do you mind starting off
Yeah.
by talking about how you ended up hosting this singles event
Yeah.
coming up on November 8th here in Chicago?
Yeah. Talk about the universe, right? So it was the Bears opener and I was supposed to have a date and then he canceled on me by like an
To watch the
hour.
game?
Yeah, we were just going to watch the
Yeah.
game. So he canceled on me. And so it's like too late for me to get some girlfriends together. So I'm like, I go to the bar all the time, like by myself. I have no problem doing that. So I walked by Backstory and it was like, it looked closed. So then I walked up to like Portland, the bars there, and I'm like, they were so packed. I'm like, I'm not going
Oh,
to get a
yeah.
seat. So then I came back and I'm like, you know what? So even though the sign said closed, I opened the door and I'm like, okay. And I said, are you guys open? And Gina, the owner, was like, yeah. I didn't know she was the owner at the time. She's like, oh, just flip the sign. So I'm sitting there, bar's empty, and because it used to be, I think, North Tavern or something, Tavern on
Yeah. It was
North.
Tavern
Yeah,
on North. Yeah.
it was like a dive bar. So I was asking her, I'm like, you guys have been closed for a while, like what's going on? And so she said, yeah, we did a facelift. Like now she's running it. I'm like, they did such a great job.
It's
And
awesome.
then we just had like I just ended up talking to her. I'm like, well, I don't want to be. I just got canceled on, so like I want to be at home by myself. And then so she's like, what do you do? I'm like, I'm a dating and relationship therapist. She's like, no way. I'm like, yeah. She's like, oh, my friends have told me I should throw a singles event. I'm like, I've thrown singles events. I'm like, I've emceed them, I've hosted them, I've done charity events. I'm like, yeah. I'm like, let's do it. So we just ended up talking. And then by the time the Bears game was over, we decided to throw a singles event on November 8th.
That's awesome.
So
And I was at that game, by the way, the season opener, so you didn't miss anything until like the beginning was good and the end was good, and that was
yeah.
it. So it's perfect time to plan a singles event.
Yeah. I
Great.
mean,
So,
it was fun.
oh, go
And
ahead.
so, yeah, but we, so, I mean, we're just kind of keeping it like there's no link to register. It's kind of like, if you walk into any bar on a Friday night, you're going to have all kinds of different people. And we just want it to be really chill, no pressure, like just come pop in when you want, however long you want, come to meet people, come to bring friends, come to actually find the love of your life. Who knows what's going to happen.
I have high expectations. So, no, I
Yeah.
think that's great. And what I think too is it's one of those things. I'm seeing more and more singles events popping up in
Hmm.
Chicago. And I think just bringing people, I don't want to say to commiserate, but like bringing people together in a place where the intentions are more clear. It's almost like if someone had a sign on that says, I'm single and
Yeah.
ready to mingle kind of thing. And it takes that initial pressure of, are they single? Should I, is 6'5" guy coming out of
Right.
the bathroom
Bathroom.
to beat me up, which, yeah, by the way, I'm 6'5", so he better be a little bit taller if he's going to beat me up, but
Right.
I'm kidding. But yeah, so I think that it eliminates that initial roadblock that we all have of, is that person single?
Hmm.
And yeah, I think it's really cool. And I think these kind of events can give you an opportunity to even maybe make a new friend group. And
Right.
then maybe in that friend group, there's an opportunity, or you end up getting set up by someone. So I think it's just like if you think of it almost like that first barrier to entry is removed.
Yeah.
And, maybe people will show up that you can be friends with, or maybe you meet your future partner there.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the thing is we don't, I mean, I just ask people not to put pressure on themselves because like we all just want to have a good time and I'm going to be around, for if anyone needs any help or for me to introduce someone that you find attractive. Like, I mean, I'm the wing woman, of the night and answering, any kind of dating and relationship questions. So, but yeah, I mean, we hopefully we could do it again, but if you find someone attractive or just strike up a conversation and just have fun and maybe
They're
you'll
there for the same reasons you are.
exactly. And you're not going to know. That's whether you're on an app or in person, you're not going to know if something is going to work out unless you try and you have to give it time. So I hope people will just, come to the event, stop by whenever you want and have fun, meet people, and hopefully meet the love of your life.
I love it.
It'll
That's
be
a great
fun.
mission statement. And I'm putting the link to the Instagram post that you have. I
Okay.
think you might be collab with them. I'll put that in the show
Yeah.
notes. Anyone in Chicago, I actually have a pretty big Chicago. I mean, pretty big. It's like 4%, but whatever. A big Chicago listing. So if you guys are around and you want to come by and you want to attend a singles event, hang out with us, maybe meet the love of your life, then you should come to this event. And the information's down in the show notes.
Yeah. Thank
So
you so much. I appreciate it.
yeah. And before we head out, I'll give you a chance. I know we've kind of gone back and forth a little bit. So give you a chance to ask me anything and then we'll call it a day.
Yeah, so I have two questions. I'll do the easy one
Okay.
first. I've been wanting
Oh
to
boy.
know what is your favorite restaurant in Chicago?
Oh my God. So it's like, well, which kind of food, which area, like you could go down.
You pick
So
whatever you want.
when people ask me that, I usually think of two. One of them is Via Carducci, which is on Division. It's an
Okay.
Italian restaurant, Southern Italian restaurant. And outside of Italy, it is the absolute
Hmm,
like best pasta that I've ever had.
interesting.
And I think and I'm gluten free too. So it's like, whatever, I get gluten free pasta, but like the sauces, everything, the meat, it reminds me of being in Italy, where every other place, it's not quite that for me. And then the other place that I really like is probably going to get a little shit, but it's the Franklin Room down in, I don't know, what is that? Is that River
Gotcha.
West? Have you been there before?
Yeah, I actually have
Yeah.
a bottle of liquor over there.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. It's been a while since I've been there, so I hope it's still there.
Yeah, it's still there. I
Yeah.
haven't been there in a while either, actually, but it was still there a couple weeks ago. I walked
Oh,
by.
nice.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah. See, I've never
And
been
they have the
to
best old fashioned ever, period,
really
in the
interesting.
world. Yeah. So,
See, I appreciate
wait,
that
what
because
are
I've
yours
not.
though? Now I want to know what yours are, or yours is.
It is kind of tough, but I really love like Asian fusion is like my favorite
Mm.
like kind of food style right now. And so I love Bixie beer and Logan.
Oh yeah,
Have you
yeah.
been?
I
It's
have.
it's
Yeah,
so good. I mean,
yeah.
I'm not like a foodie, but because I mostly cook at home, but the Asian fusion and like in our neighborhood, I mean Mott Street. I don't know if you've been there.
Mott's. Oh, of course
Yeah,
I have.
all the
I
time.
live
Yeah.
at the other. Yeah, Mott Street's also a great spot. That's a really good
Yeah.
one.
I love that one. So we have a lot.
Yeah,
I do love the neighborhood that we live in because there's definitely a lot of good food. All right,
and
so
you
I have
never
a
have to leave.
serious question now.
Okay.
So since my singles come in because they want me to help them find a good fit, and you've had a really interesting experience of finding a fit, and just the people maybe that you've talked to or the other dating experiences that you've had, is there anything that you've learned or a piece of advice that you have for people in terms of finding a good fit or assessing for a good fit as like a
Mm.
long-term partner?
Whew. Well, I always, ironically, people come to me for relationship advice, marriage advice, communication advice, all that stuff. And I'm always kind of like, you know, my story, right? Like,
Hmm.
got married on reality TV, got divorced, not a history of success there. Like, I don't know what that is. But what I think, what I think that comes from people is I have been able through that whole experience and through a lot of work, really, of just building my confidence and understanding who I am, is to unapologetically be myself and
Hmm.
stay true to myself. And if the greatest compliment and my love language for receiving is words of affirmation, but not like, oh, you're so handsome or you look great, but more like you're doing the right thing. Or, like my favorite thing is when people were like, I saw you on TV, but it was like you that I know, but you were on TV and you were yourself and all of that stuff. And I think for me, like my big takeaway from all of that was like, if you're just yourself and you know who you are and you know what is important to you and you know how you want to show up in the world, and then you do it and you practice it, that I think that when you're dating, that can shine through. And
Hmm.
that will, just like it will in people that are in your life or people that enter in your life and exit your life, you will attract the right people that like you for who you are, and you'll shed the rest. And they
Hmm.
won't be a part of your life anymore. And you've probably been doing that. But to me, it's all about figuring out who you are and being that consistently, not worrying what other people say, not worrying about the rejection, not worrying about and I'm obviously guilty with some of the stuff I've shared today, but like just knowing that when you see or when someone meets you, if you're yourself and they're supposed to be in your life, they'll probably stay. And if they're not, they'll go away, but you just keep being
Hmm.
yourself. And I think that's what to me it was, my survival, I'll say, of the whole Love is Blind experience was I just stayed myself the whole time, even when there was pressure from everywhere to change. And I don't have regrets about it. In a sense that I wish I did this differently. I wish I did that differently. Like I don't have any of that. And I don't know if that's, the case for a lot of people in relationships or in life or whatever other experiences they're going through. So I encourage people more than anything, like just be yourself. What's right for you will come for you then, and what's not won't be there. And you just keep shining.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's really great advice because, like, I know some of my clients, they pretend to be someone that they're not to make a relationship
Yes,
work, and I have to try to convince them, like, to be themselves. So then they do attract the person that appreciates them for who they are, right? And
exactly.
so, yeah, no, that's
And
really great.
I think on that point too, one of the biggest things that I've found success with in relationships or things that work for me, um, that too is something that like here's a quick example. Like I get people flirt with me through DMs and stuff.
Hmm.
I've been asked out a few times, but like, I know what I want. I know who I am. And there's like a lot of times I can tell like this person here. So for example, there were a couple girls, but one that was really earlier this year, really like trying to get me to go on a date with her. And she was like 20 or mid 20s, we'll say. And I'm sitting there at 38 years old, 39 years old. And I'm like, I know we would have a great time this summer. But once summer was over and it was time to like cook and be inside, you know what I mean? Like hunker or bunker up. I was like, there's like real compatibility issues there. So I just didn't do it. Even though 5 years ago, I would have been like, let's go have a great summer. We'll figure out the rest later. But like being, that understanding of knowing that like, if I'm myself, I'm not going to want to hurt this girl. I'm not going to want to have this summer, fling that I know is going nowhere past that. And, just in general, kind of like knowing, again, acting intentionally, being authentic, that just wouldn't have had the outcome that I wanted, that I know I want. So why do that?
So also with
and maybe hurt someone in the process.
Right. But also like, because you know yourself better, you kind of know what would make you compatible with someone, or like you kind of know what you're looking for in terms of that. Yeah.
Yeah. I know what I need. I need trust, stability, and quality time. Like, and that trust isn't the obvious stuff of being, faithful and respectful to the relationship. Like it's trust, that trust in our relationship being there, that trust in, I put myself out there in some, my activism in some very vulnerable places. Like, trust me that I'm doing it for the right reasons. Right. I will trust you when you talk about your things that are important, and trust you that, you will have that. And stability. Like it's like, I need to know that the relationship's there, and that it's like the conflict thing, right? Like that we'll step on the foundation together and address the conflicts. Like that stability. Like I don't want to wonder if the relationship is stable or healthy or going to work or going to continue all the time. Like that just isn't. I want to know it's there. I want to focus on it. I want to make it stronger. But like, I also need other things. Like it can't always be conflict and all that stuff. And then quality time. Like I want to spend quality time with this person, alone, together with other people. And that's kind of how I receive love. Like I want someone that wants to spend time with me.
Yeah. So. You basically are asking for security, right? That's what we all need.
That's a good point. So I can sum it up into one word now. Security.
Yeah, well, when you said you don't want to have to worry about the relationship, right? That's what we all need. Yeah.
Well, and I think like so many people throw the relationship away. I see it in my life with people around me, not everyone, but the first thing to go when there's a conflict is the relationship. And that should be the last thing that goes. Unless of course it's abusive, there's always those negative things that should be taken seriously, but yeah. So where can people find you online? Where can people, we already said where we can come to the event, but if you want to say that again, we can do that too.
Yeah.
And maybe where can some people, most of my listeners are women, but where can some people slide into your DMs on Instagram?
On Instagram, I'm at Anita on Love, and same on X. And then my website is relationshipreality312.com. And then the event is at Backstory in Bucktown on November 8th, and it starts at 6 p.m.
And we'll both be there. I'm excited. Yes. I'm hoping to meet some cool people.
Yeah, and I'll see you at Jewel.
Yeah, you'll see me at the Jewel walking down the street.
Yeah, you're going to see me now because you're like, she wasn't lying.
Oh, 100%.
I was seeing you all the time. Yeah.
100%. So, well, thank you so much for coming on today. This was great. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you so much. I had such a great time.
Thank you for joining us on this week's episode of Eyes Wide Open. If you enjoy the show, the best way to support us is by sharing or dropping a review. For more information and content, check out engagewithnick.com or find me on Instagram at nthompson513. Don't go through life blind. Do the work so you can show up in the world with your eyes wide open.